lots of ways to explore incorporating whole foods into your diet without thinking of, I need to eat more fruit and I need eat more vegetables and more grains, and this is kind of boring. And I think that's where people sort of miss the mark.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Thrive State Podcast. Once again, I am your host, Dr. V, triple board certified MD and performance and longevity expert. And I just want to thank you once again to be a loyal listener to the Thrive State Podcast. And if you're new here, welcome. Welcome to this channel. Welcome to this podcast that is really used to serve to elevate us as people. And when we elevate as people, we elevate humanity, we elevate the world as well. This is why the podcast exists, and I'm so glad that you're here. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hitting the notifications button so you don't miss any future videos on this channel or this podcast. And if you have been a loyal listener and you're liking all the stuff that you're hearing, please do us a favor, leave us a 5-star review at ratethispodcast.com/thrivestate. It really helps the show grow. And I can't wait to introduce you to a guest I have today. Now, full transparency, I was a vegan for 6 months a couple years back, and I did actually start reversing the process of diabetes when I switched over. So I want you guys all to know that your path to success, your path to health is your path. And whatever is going to work for you, whatever is going to raise your vibration, raise your state, your body's going to know it. So listen and feel into that. But the people that I bring on, Robert Cheek was a vegan I brought on in an earlier episode. You should listen to his stuff here. And the person I'm bringing on today too, Giacomo Marchese. All right. He is such a beautiful man, has a wonderful story and some really good tips as to how to maintain short-term and long-term goals for your health. Giacomo is actually the co-founder of VeganProteins.com, also co-founded Plant Built, a nonprofit organization of strength-based vegan athletes who compete together to raise awareness for veganism and money for rescued animals at farm sanctuaries. Giacomo also uses strength-based sports, and he travels to various fitness events all across the country with the Vegan Strong team to raise awareness for animal rights and welfare. Giacomo has coached clients at NYSC, Bally Sports Club, and LA Fitness. You could see from meeting him, he's got such a great heart and such a powerful mission. He currently coaches people online at the Vegan Proteins website. So check him out. He is super accessible, super available. He'll answer your email a day or two after you send one to him. So reach out to him. Good friend of mine, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Giacomo Marchese. Thrive State Podcast listeners, this is Giacomo Marchese. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks so much for having me, Kien.
Now, before we get into it, I love your story. I love who you've become, what you stand for. I want to get people to know you a little bit better. So we do something on the show called the 5 to Thrive, which is really a lubricating series of conversations to get the conversation going. So are you ready? And of course, they are worth points. Each question is worth 1,000 points. So hopefully you get them right. Giacomo, are you ready to play 5 to Thrive?
I'm ready.
Okay. Number 1 is your favorite book.
My favorite book. I'll go with Jurassic Park. It's one of the first long books I've read. And I enjoyed it.
And you saw that, you read that before you saw the movie?
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Did it do it justice, the movie?
There, like most things, the read is always better. You miss so many details in movies. They can only include so much.
Oh, wow. Okay. Number 2, your favorite childhood memory.
My favorite childhood memory?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Ouch. Why am I drawing a blank here? Oh, my favorite childhood memories. We'll go with when I started lifting weights and made the tennis team.
Oh, okay. When was that? How old were you?
14.
14.
15.
All right. Very good. We could touch on that more later. Next is a pivotal moment in your life that sort of defined who you are as a person.
A pivotal moment in my life that sort of defines who I am as a person. When I realized that I could take my strengths as a giver and people pleaser and use them as tools to lead by example when I started to get into health for reasons other than myself.
Oh.
And that happened in my early 20s. That was a pivotal moment for me.
Oh, can't wait to dive into that. If you could say that, there is, some support that you could use in your life now, what do you think that would be? If somebody were to wave a magic wand over you and give you something that you desire in your life right now, what would that be?
I'd like to say time, but I feel like that's a cop out. I think a layer of support that I feel like would be helpful for me in my life is to be more in touch with my emotions on the regular.
Yeah.
And I think I could dedicate more time to counseling. I don't dedicate enough time to that.
Oh,
and sometimes I just feel a little too spread out with all of my I have to do everything, but do I really, or can I just focus more on personal growth? It's like my push and pull.
that is so beautiful. And certainly as a man, to be able to touch with your emotional side and recognize when we're faced with stress is so important. Last thing is, how would you like to be remembered?
I would like to be remembered as someone who did not leave too bad of a carbon footprint on this earth, and somehow whatever I left here after I'm long gone, that it somehow helps humanity. Be more compassionate to everything around, not just humanity, but animals, nature, and beyond.
Oh, okay. That's so beautiful. I'm just inspired by your story. And, full disclosure to the people who are listening here, just like I had Robert Cheek on, I love people in the community who just have so much to give. And our ideologies might be different a little bit. Certainly, I'm not vegan, but I promote a very plant-rich diet. And I think we just have so much to share, particularly where we get our protein sources may differ a little bit, but I think our approach to life, to health is very, very much in line. So let's go back to your story a little bit. At the age of 14, you started to weightlift. Did you have some heroes that were weightlifters at the time? What made you start so early in fitness?
I was a drummer who was bullied, and my conductor gave me the confidence to lift weights in high school. And so my conductor was and still is a hero of mine.
Oh, beautiful. And tell me, what was the life-changing moment? You weren't always, a vegan. What were the circumstances around why you finally decided to make that part of your lifestyle?
I had a girlfriend at the time. Her mom had a heart attack. She was relieved to just be less stressed out, and that Western medicine was able to tell her she'd be okay. And I felt like that wasn't the answer. There had to be a long-term solution. And realizing like you couldn't talk to family and talk them through that, I decided to look for more information. And that led me to a plant-based diet. And then as far as the V word, vegan, that changed for me when I was dating someone else at the time. They still are an animal rescuer, and they gave me more of a connection to what was on my plate, that it wasn't just food, that it was a sentient being. And those started to connect the dots for me.
Oh, amazing. And that journey for you has been 20 years now. Yeah.
Roughly
20 years. Amazing. So I want to say right now, a lot of people, when we had Robert Cheek come on the show, a lot of people were wanting to include more plants in their life, probably going into a place where they're more compassionate and whatnot. How would you say, for somebody who might be on the mainstream and potentially eating a mainstream diet, or potentially the SAD diet, standard American diet, how they might start, maybe start to incorporate more plants in their life, potentially even going towards a vegan lifestyle?
I think the easiest way to start incorporating more plants into your menu is to eat vegetables. That's step one. Be honest with yourself. Are you getting in vegetables at least once a day? If the answer is maybe, then you should be getting in vegetables once to twice a day. It's step one. Step two is to not think of whole foods in terms of, I need to eat more fruits and vegetables and grains, nuts, and seeds. What can you do with that food? This isn't 20, 30 years ago. I mean, at this point, food engineers and scientists are just having their way with plants. But you need to go like with their info. You can make stuff at home. You can make so many things. Imagine making your own meat at home instead of someone else making your meat for you and manufacturing it from animal agriculture and then packaging up meat or whatever. You can make meat and cheese at home. You can make all kinds of things. So look for that information. We have it on menu, free recipes on the Vegan Strong site. on our site at Vegan Proteins, do some exploring. And there's places where your local grocer, for example, even Target has a whole aisle dedicated to plant-based protein. So there are lots of ways to explore incorporating whole foods into your diet without thinking of, I need to eat more fruit and I need eat more vegetables and more grains, and this is kind of boring. And I think that's where people sort of miss the mark.
Got it. So two of the most important things I heard in there, number one was start small, incremental steps. So, I mean, if you're somebody who doesn't eat any vegetables at all, just include maybe one serving of vegetable, but not, create this big drastic lifestyle. Start small first. And the second important thing I heard in there was the process matters, and enjoying that process matters. And so creating, being creative at home and really being able to enjoy the food, create the food is super important. So part of the things the listeners should take out there is start small and certainly enjoy the process. You mentioned a couple things in there. You are the founder of Vegan Proteins. Tell us about that.
Vegan Protein started as a supplement shop. We were the only vegan supplement shop on the internet. And I felt like there was a void because I had a very hard time sourcing vegan protein powder, which is kind of silly now because there are so many other options. But back then it meant a lot to me. That was the one barrier for me switching from going vegetarian and then transitioning to going vegan. So long story short, eventually vegan protein powder is available everywhere, but we had started coaching others at the time with a nonprofit that we still run called Plant Built. And we kept going with that. And now we coach people full time on that website.
Oh, very, very beautiful. And you also mentioned your nonprofit there, Vegan Strong. Tell us about that and its mission statement.
Well, I feel Vegan Strong is the evolution of work with friends in the community, namely Robert Cheek and I got together a very long time ago, and we were like, what if we could do a documentary highlighting bodybuilders on stage that were vegan? And that didn't pan out. But when the torch kept getting passed back and forth, eventually we did Plant Built, and we showed up at sports festivals, competing in multiple different sports: bodybuilding, powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting, etc. We represented a small amount of the competition, and we took home the majority of the trophies. After doing that for several years, we wound up seeing what we could do in the mainstream. We stuck to drug tested sports festivals, and now we're like, well, how can we reach everybody? Arnold Classic, Olympia. And the Vegan Strong team went out to these giant sports festivals, worked with the organizers, and we started speaking. We had a stage, did food demos, presentations, lectures, all kinds of stuff. I mean, it just keeps going. I could keep going, but there's a lot of work that we've done to reach the mainstream and say, hey, plants have all the protein you need.
This episode of the Thrive State podcast is brought to you by the Thrive State Accelerator. The Thrive State Accelerator is actually a home course that I developed using the exact same techniques I work with my celebrity clients, CEOs, and executives on how to get them to the Thrive State. The Thrive State Accelerator teaches you how to master your 7 bioenergetic elements. That's sleep, nutrition, movement, stress and emotional mastery, relationships, our thoughts and mindset, as well as purpose. In this Thrive State Accelerator, you're also going to get a bonus module on optimization. That's how I talk about supplementation, peptides, all the optimization techniques I use with my clients to get them to the Thrive State. Now, for some of you who are just joining us for the first time, you guys might be wondering, what is the Thrive State? Well, the Thrive State is actually the energy, the epigenetic environment we give to ourselves, telling our DNA how to act and how to respond. And if we want optimal health, longevity, and peak performance, if we can master these 7 bioenergetic elements, our ability to have those 3 things that we just said, optimal health, longevity, and peak performance, is at its greatest. And it also prevents you from getting chronic symptoms like brain fog, being overweight, feeling sluggish, acne, pain, all these chronic symptoms, as well as preventing you from getting chronic disease. So getting to that thrive state is really getting to that state to master being that very best version of yourself so you could show up for you, for your family, for your business, everything that's important to you. So go ahead, check it out right now at kienfood.com/accelerator and use coupon code podcast25 for 25% off. Now back to the podcast. Such a great goal and vision that you have there. Next up, we really want to talk about how somebody actually takes on, a new lifestyle, that is more very health-centered and health-based, whether it be working out, whether it be incorporating a new diet, getting better sleep. Some people could do it for short term, which is great because we need short-term goals. But then a lot of people are like, I'm just doing it. And then maybe they're in it a month or two. I want to start to break down, how do you master short-term goals? And then two, how do you turn something into a long-term goal and lifestyle? So let's tackle the short-term stuff first.
Short-term stuff, you need a buy-in. You need a reward. If you don't have a carrot being dangled, you're not going to do it. But don't get addicted to that carrot, because then you'll be short-sighted as far as that long-term success, which requires planning and goals and a schedule that is maintainable for your lifestyle. But this is circling right back to, while you still have that carrot dangled and saying, I want to lose X amount of pounds in 3 months, or I want to look like this in 6 months. While you're doing that, you still need to be realistic, right?
Right.
Should you be the type that has gotten motivation or was lucky enough to be motivated? Great. Hold on to it for dear life, but also recognize that practical, realistic approaches will last. People wind up wanting to train 6 days a week, 4 or 5 days a week, 1 to 2 hours a day. Not necessary and not possible for the vast majority of people. And then they wind up missing the mark. Same thing with diet. They want to cut as many calories as possible. They want to do everything perfectly. So realistic schedule, dangle the carrot, and think about something that you could do for the next 10 years and arguably the rest of your life once you've been doing it for like a year or two.
What are some of those most important factors? I know that a few things I feel when you're incorporating a new lifestyle or habit is, one, certainly start small. Two, make it fun and start enjoying the process rather than looking at the goal. Are there certain other things that you think is important in that process? I would imagine accountability is.
Accountability is a big one. I feel like having an outside source, whether it's a accountability buddy or a coach or something, journaling, saying you're going to show up somewhere and showing up every day, wherever it is, like those are all helpful tools and resources when it comes to accountability. I think it depends on the person. Some people need another person in their life, and some people really want to do it on their own, and some it's a mix of the two.
Oh, beautiful. So making sure you have accountability, starting small, enjoying the process. Any other qualities and traits you would say is important for adopting a new lifestyle or way of living and showing up?
Any other traits that are important? Well, focus on sleep and hydration before you do anything else. If your sleep hygiene's off and your hydration is off, everything else is going to suffer. Don't get too caught up in the details. Start with your basic health markers and then work your way into the details one step at a time.
Oh, beautiful. I know you got so many projects going on now. Vegan Proteins, you've got Vegan Strong, your organization. Like, what does a typical day look like for you? And then what would you say 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, like that big ultimate achievement you'd like to get? So first question was the day to day, and then two, this vision that you want to accomplish.
For me personally?
Yeah.
Well, it's wintertime here. And so I start my morning off with some light therapy and some mix of meditation and walking, whatever I can fit in, a combination of the two pretty consistently. I'm trying to throw some more breath work into the mix once or twice a day, because I feel like it's a useful tool for anxiety that isn't purposeful, that just shows up because you're busy.
Yeah.
I eat breakfast kind of late. I am most productive in the morning. I'm an early riser. So I get in my essential work, the stuff that requires a lot of thought. And then I head for the gym around lunch. And then I'm here, either some combination of meetings and tasks, but still working with clients, So I have a pretty busy day. I actually don't like my schedule right now. It's too busy. And I start work probably 8:30 and I start and stop, but I'm still like, I even have a thing here that says desk until 7:30 p.m. And that's kind of unacceptable, Kien. But the problem is right now I am working towards a competition. So I realize that this is a temporary, dare I say, hustle. My goal is to compete next year, and it's not a normal thing. So to reach an extreme goal, no matter how efficient you are, and no matter how well you manage your stress and anxiety, you still have to unfortunately take things to a unsustainable level. So I think ahead to answer your other question. And my point there is think ahead and plan ahead, because once you reach your goal, if you don't have a what next lined up for you, your mental health is going to be crap. And you have a good chance of falling off. And if you don't fall off, whatever it is that you keep going after, there are likely going to be consequences, ones that you may or may not admit to yourself, but eventually you'll pay for it. And I know because I have learned the hard way.
Oh, let's dive into that a little bit. I mean, what was probably, can you tell us about maybe that mental health, crack in your life? And you mentioned doing some breath work, which I love. Are there any other things that you like in your mental health kind of rituals or routines?
Well, I feel like when it comes to mental health, the meditation thing is pretty big for me, both guided and not guided. I like other things that I don't have access to, like float tanks, for example. I like the idea of that. It's like sensory deprivation. In other words, you could probably manufacture that at home in a dark room. It's quiet. Just, taking time to reflect. For some people, it helps to take to pen and paper and journal. For others, it helps to just sit and accept and with awareness, like where your thoughts are at and where your feelings are at, without needing to identify them or be in conversation with others, or even necessarily be around others. So it's a difficult concept to put into words, but I guess my point here is to make some room for that, really, when it comes to your mental health. And don't be afraid to reach out either. Like for me, going to therapy is proactive. It's about being proactive so I can have better mental health and keep what I do have, and for personal growth, as opposed to where I feel we lack is that we think of, oh, okay, until there's a problem, I'm not going to do anything. Like, you should always be working on your health.
Absolutely. I mean, so much of it is going to be preventative, and it's a part of a process that we don't think about. I mean, we go to the gym to work on our physical health. We need to also go to the gym to work on our mental health and emotional health as well. So let me ask you now, you have quite a life, started some beautiful organizations with big missions. Now, if you were to go back and give your 10-year-old self a bit of advice, what one or two things do you want to impart to that person right now?
My 10-year-old self, I think the advice that I would give them is that it gets better, and it's okay to be lonely. I think I have always felt comfortable with the idea of loneliness, but I don't think I've ever sought it out. I think I've constantly needed to be around others. And I feel like that's a security blanket. So if I were to tell my 10-year-old self, not only are you accepting of loneliness, but actually seek it out, be with yourself a little bit more, I think my path would have been a little bit different.
Well, what a beautiful story. I mean, you have accomplished so much now, and thank you for doing all the work that you're doing out there. I know you provide coaching. I know there's vegan proteins out there. Where do people find you and all of your work online?
You can reach out to us anytime at Vegan Proteins, and you could shoot me an email, and I promise you, you will get an answer, probably same or next day. My email box is almost always empty. If it's not, I'm pretty annoyed. And so don't be afraid to reach out and ask a random question with no intention on reaching out ever again. Or maybe there's something you need or want, some way we can help you. Or maybe our free resources are helpful for you, like our podcast or our YouTube or whatever that we put out there. Go to veganproteins.com and check out what we have to offer. We're here for you.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that generous offer and for actually answering all of your emails. The fact that you answer them, the same day or the next day, I now realize while you're at your desk till 7:30. Now, you've lived a pretty amazing life. And so I'm going to end with this question here is, what has been your best medicine?
My best medicine has been compassion. It tests me time and time again. It separates me from my ego. It governs my choices. It forces me to reflect on and sit with my feelings instead of just blindly chipping away at life with confidence and being like, this is where I need to be. I just need to feel good. Compassion for everything and everyone around me, no matter what I feel, no matter what my bias is.
That's so beautiful. And I see that in everything that you do. Giacomo, thank you for your time today. And thank you again for giving us such value here on the Thrive State podcast.
Thanks for having me, Kien.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Thrive State podcast. And if this podcast is bringing a lot of value to you, if you find that your life is just improving with this podcast, that your life is getting to the next level, please consider supporting it. And here's a few ways you can do so. You can do so by liking this video and commenting on this video, and also sharing this video with your friends and family. Another thing you can do is go to ratethispodcast.com/ThriveState. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star review there. It will really, really help this show grow. And this will give me more time so that I could actually give more content to you, just like you got in this episode. And if you haven't already picked up a copy of my book, Thrive State, Your Blueprint for Optimal Health, Longevity, and Peak Performance, you can pick it up now. It became a #1 new release in longevity. Go to thrivestatebook.com. And if you enjoy the book, please consider leaving us a review as well. And the last thing you can do, if you're liking everything here and you want to work more closely with me as well as my team to get you into the Thrive State, go to kienvu.com/accelerator and consider joining the home course, the Thrive State Accelerator. It's really the course that I use. It's the concepts that I use personally when I work with CEOs, celebrities, and my high-profile clients to get them to the Thrive State. Again, the Thrive State Accelerator at kienvu.com/accelerator. And because you're a listener of this podcast, I want you to save 25% by using the coupon code podcast25. I hope we continue to give value to you. And remember always, you are your best medicine.